Hello everyone, welcome to Keen Ear. Now many moons ago I held a contest and out of the handful of people who participated, Mr. Martin Parrott was amongst them. These days perhaps he's best known as being the vinyl scavenger, and at this moment in time he himself is holding a contest. I believe the closing date for this contest is the 31st of May, so there's a little bit of time left, if you choose to take part. And as he, participated in my contest, I feel like, I want to participate in his contest. There's a pretty good one as well, only 4 questions, so you don't have to get like a million records and CDs or whatever from your collection and then make a video and then put them all back, which is, it can be a right pain in the neck, that quite honestly. And also as well, the questions are quite open as well. I think, a lot of them I've noticed with certain contests, the questions, unless you've got a particular collection or particular taste in music, or you've got a vast collection perhaps with a bit of everything, you might struggle with quite a few of the questions, but this one's quite open, so I think it's a good selection of questions and that kind of thing. It's quite open, so even the most modest record collection could maybe participate. So anyway, let's start with question number 1, which asks it asks to show a record or CD that has a sample, some sort of sample in it. Now, outside of hip hop, the only real samples I know that were used in music are in the Beatles. Now, probably I should apologize at this point, to Martin, who's, I guess, maybe hoping that people are gonna, make these videos and respond with stuff that maybe he doesn't even know about, and that kind of thing. Obscure stuff that maybe you can start to, broaden his horizons and that kind of thing, and shine a light on something he wasn't aware of, and that sort of thing, groups and artists and all that kind of thing. And here I am, talking about the Beatles, but this is the first thing that sprung to mind, really. And it's the White Album with Revolution Number 9, which, of course, it's kind of like the granddaddy, I suppose, maybe of samples. It's got all these weird elements to it, and it's made up of a real collage of kind of craziness and little bits of this and little bits of that. Some of it's music, some of it's not, some of it's just spoken word, some of it's just nonsense and that kind of thing. And yeah, it still has some power to it. It really does highlight the power of sampling music and that kind of thing. And I heard somebody say recently that they were listening to it for the first time and it freaked them out that much that they couldn't actually finish listening to it. Which shows, it definitely has a degree of power to it, even to this day. And I could only imagine back in the 60s, people listening to it for the first time, fed on a diet of, I want to hold your hand and help and can't buy me love and all that kind of thing. And they hear Revolution Number 9. I bet it was kind of disturbing, I suppose, for a lot of people, especially coming from the Beatles. Well, anyway, that's the best I can do, unfortunately. I'm not particularly, definitely not an expert by any means, far from it when it comes to, music sampling and that kind of thing. And that's the only thing that I could really think of that I could use that, that came to hand. And usually when something's like a reflex sort of response to something, an instant response, it's usually the right one, and that's the best I could do, unfortunately, with that question, because I know that Martin probably knows all about it, and it's nothing to excite him, or it's no revelation or anything like that. But anyway, we'll move on to the next question, which asked to suggest, it's to show the best ever salvaged find you've ever made, and maybe a story to go along with it. Now, this may be not the best find I've ever had, in terms of a freebie and that kind of thing, but it's the most recent. This is the most recent thing I've managed to get my hands on. And these days, with the resurgence in vinyl, getting vinyl for free is becoming harder and harder, of course. But this is the record in question. It's not a particularly rare or collectible record. It's Elton John's The Best Of. And it's got this sort of reverse image. It's almost like Elton looking into a mirror almost there. The same image on the back almost as on the front. And yeah, this was given to me by my auntie. She came round one day with 3 records, 3 albums, this being one of them. And the story to accompany this really. This unremarkable record. I've got a fairly unremarkable story to go with it, but it's the best I can do, unfortunately. I was going to make something up, perhaps, incorporate wizards and space eagles, perhaps, but I thought I'd just be honest. And yeah, this is the story that comes with this record. I had two other records, and they were both that came with it, and I was cleaning them up along with this one, and it was giving them some TLC, the most TLC I'd imagine they've ever had since they were produced, way back when, probably they're all from the 1980s, I believe, sometime in the 80s. And after cleaning them up and cleaning the covers about, the covers were a bit dusty and that sort of thing, and one of them had like a seam split underneath, and I got some glue and I fixed that, so they were looking pretty decent really. And then I played one of them, and it was just trashed, absolutely trashed. It was skipping all over the place, and it was that sort of badly damaged that you kind of wouldn't want to play it, because not only couldn't you really enjoy the music, but it would probably damage your equipment, damage your stylus or whatever. So yeah, they were kind of both trashed really. So I had to sort of throw them away, throw them in the bin, because I wasn't going to give them to charity, because I wanted to take them out of circulation effectively. And it is a bit weird, throwing vinyl away. It's a weird sensation to do it because it feels so wrong. But sometimes you just kind of have to do it, unfortunately, and that was the case. And the records weren't rare or collectible or anything like that. Even if they were mints, they wouldn't be that valuable. So yeah, they had to go, unfortunately. But this one was okay. This one was a decent one. And effectively, the story is I spent a lot of effort. Well, not a lot of effort, but a fair amount of effort in cleaning these records up, with all my fancy record cleaning solutions that I've got and everything like that. And then gluing the record cover and everything like that. And then ended up just throwing them in the bin. It was kind of a complete waste of effort, really. But I got this out of it, and this is in decent shape. Not mint or anything like that, but it's in decent shape. And I don't have much Elton. So this is, a worthy addition to my collection, and play it occasionally. And of course, it's got some good stuff on it. So yeah, that's the upside of it. The downside is the other two records were trash, unfortunately. But never look a gift horse in the mouth and all that. So that was question number 2. Question number 3 is a suggestion of a sample. Suggestion of a sample, preferably from a record, otherwise use your imagination. Now, there was one song that I had in mind to answer this straight away as soon as I heard it. It was a Talking Head song that I've known about for many years now. It's been in a compilation CD that I had a long time ago, and I was thinking about using that, and I thought I'd better listen to it before making this video, before, make sure I got all my facts straight and that kind of thing. Anyway, I listened to it, and I was completely off the mark with it. It doesn't actually have what I thought it was going to have, and maybe I've got it mixed up with another song, and I was trying to think of what it is, and I was listening to various different songs and trying to get a hand back onto that that track that sort of eluded me. Couldn't think of it for whatever reason. I'll probably be reminded of it. The penny will drop probably sometime next month or whatever when it's irrelevant, as that's why usually it works for me. So I can't remember what that is, but I've got a replacement track. This is the standby that I had. The sort of reserve answer, I suppose. And it's found on this album. It's Alice Cooper Killer, and the piece of music really that I think would suit the sample pretty well is the outro, I suppose you could call it. The very end of this album. It ends in a very sort of bizarre, almost industrial engine sort of grind in there. It's quite an obnoxious sound actually, and I think if you wanted to play a trick on someone, perhaps send them like an April Fool's joke or whatever. You could get like a bit of ambient music, maybe a bit of Brian Eno, something very gentle, something very soft, and then just cut in that grinding, noise from this, and then fighting like you could kill someone potentially for doing that. So just be warned if you are thinking of doing that. But death by music. So anyway, maybe that's why it's called Killer. Maybe that's the idea. You get to the end of the album and it kills you. Literally, the first time I listened to that, I thought that audio equipment had just imploded or whatever. Or I didn't know what was going on. I thought there was something crazy going on. Maybe World War III had broken out or whatever. But yeah, that's something to it's an experience to behold. It really is. So question number Question number 4, the final question: a black and white record cover or a photo that means something to you. Now, I don't really have any. I don't really have anything there, any records that kind of mean a great deal to me, quite honestly. In brutal honesty. So to kind of make up for that, I'm going to be showing not one record that's got a black and white cover. I'm going to be showing 2. One cover that's lousy, I think is pretty crap. It's probably one of the crappiest, if not the crappiest album cover I actually own. And the other one I think is pretty good. So we've got a good one and a crappy one. We'll start with the crappy one, and it's this. It's the Beatles live in Hamburg, and yeah, it's got some color on it, but it is mostly black and white. And yeah, I don't really need to say anything really. It's pretty much garbage. It's the worst album cover I could imagine, quite honestly. In fact, I couldn't imagine them coming up with a worse album cover than that. It really is a howler. And inside the gatefold, it goes on about the amount of effort and money that went into cleaning up this album, musically, and making it sound as good as it possibly could, and all that. All the work they did in the studio, fixing it, I guess, trying to make it as good as possible. If they'd just spent like 10p or whatever on a better album cover, I think what would have been a good album cover in this instance would have been, or better one, should I say, if they wanted to go for this kind of design, is just get a real wall and write Beatles live, at the Star, but the Star Club Germany or whatever, do something like that, Beatles live or Night Beatles. I think this was 1962. This was recorded, something like that, just spray paint it on the wall and then take a photograph of it, and that would have been way better rather than this, which is just like it's almost like the concept design for that idea, really, rather than the final design. But anyway, that's the garbage album cover, and it's just lousy. It really is pretty lousy record as well, quite honestly. But this is the good one. This is the good one I've gone for, and again, there is a bit of color on it, and it's like the polar opposite. You got this record, you got this one, and do I need to say any more? Really, quite honestly, and yeah, there is some color on both, but they are largely black and white. And yeah, this is John Lennon in Hamburg, so it's the same sort of era and that kind of thing. And I believe these Blairs, one of them is Paul McCartney, and one's George Harrison. I've never been able to work out who they are, quite honestly. In all honesty, they could be anyone. It's like, oh, that's Stuart Sutcliffe. By the way, it's like, okay, is it? I'll take your word for it. But yeah, that's definitely John Lennon, and that's a much better album cover. Really, really cool. Probably better than the album itself, I suppose you could argue. But yeah, that's the better one. And if this would have had, that cover, it probably would have sold a few more copies, definitely. In fact, I couldn't imagine this thing having a worse cover to put people off. And I know Beatles fans have a bit of a reputation for buying any old crap with the Beatles logo on it or the Beatles name on it. Well, I think even they, in this case, will like, I don't really want that. I think I'd rather just keep my cash, thanks. So yeah. Anyway, that's been my response to the vinyl scavengers recent competition. All 4 questions. Good luck to the other participants, of course. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you soon.